really going to put your thing on the agenda, are they, at all?
Pardon?
You know, the letter you put out.
I shouldn't imagine so, Paul, no.
I didn't know if you wanted it put on the council agenda.
Well, it'd be interesting to see what people thought, yeah. Well, I know what they thought 4 years ago. Make any difference to it. But yes, that would be nice. My neighbours would be very pleased to hear about it, I think. They keep coming and asking me what on earth's going on.
Oh, yeah. I'll have a word with the CEO afterwards,
Right, okay.
if that'll help at all.
Yeah. So we're discussing my goddaughter's forthcoming nuptials for most of the day.
Oh, really? Was it started?
Well, the clock chimed, so I thought
Did
that
it?
was
Oh,
time.
right.
Yeah, it's 6:30 now.
12:30.
Good evening, everybody. In the absence of the mayor, we require a chair, please.
I'm happy to do it.
Can we?
I'll second that now.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Planning Committee on the 14th of June. We have apologies from the mayor. Are there any other apologies?
No.
Thank you.
Chair, could we just confirm that the meeting last week was in quorum?
The meeting last week was not in quorum. However, I was concerned that there was one item on the agenda which could be challenged, so I brought it back for another committee meeting.
The meeting quorum is 3 voting councillors.
For full council, not full committees.
Sorry?
For full council, not necessarily for committees.
Council confirmed that even that the members who are not councillors also form the quorum seat, even if they cannot vote.
That's not what the terms of reference say.
Well, this is what Calc has told us, so I'm not here to argue that point. So, declaration of disclosable pecuniary interests and other significant interests. Are there any? Thank you. Passing to item 3, public right to speak. A 15-minute session is set aside. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak?
Nobody interested.
Thank you. Item 4, planning applications. 4.1, reference number 22000566. The proposal is erection of a single-storey rear extension, location 16 Knight Rider Street, Sandwich, CT 13 9EP.
I'd recommend approval.
Any other comments from anyone? Can I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Heaven. The motion is carried. 4.2, reference number 22000567. Proposal, single-storey extension. Insert first floor partition to form bedroom with separate shower room. Form bathroom with existing first floor study. Location 16 Knight Rider Street, Sandwich, CT 13 9EP.
Recommend approval.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Heaven. The motion is carried. Everyone wants to vote, but moving on to item 3, reference number 22000555. Proposal, single-storey rear extension. Insert first floor partition to form a bedroom with separate shower room. I'm reading the wrong thing. I beg your pardon. Erection of a single-storey rear extension, porch, and 2 replacement windows to front elevation. Existing conservatory to be demolished. Tree and hedge to be removed. Location, Longcroft, Manwood Road, Sandwich, CT 13 9JU.
I recommend approval. It's replacing what's already there.
Forgive me if I'm wrong, is this the one that the tree warden commented on?
Yes.
In which case, can I suggest that we adopt her proposals, which was to do some root protection work, I believe.
Councillor Carls, will you amend your
Yeah,
proposal,
that would be
please?
fine. I'll amend that.
Seconder, please.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favour? The motion is carried. Moving on to number 4. 22000515. Change of use from retail, use class E, to meeting hall for community use, use class F2. Location 6B Strand Street, Sandwich, CT 13 9DZ.
Excuse me, Chair, can I just ask Councillor Friend to leave the room, please? He's commented on the planning ahead of this evening's meeting. Thank you.
Councillor Carter.
Recommend approval.
Any comments from anyone? No?
Second.
Second? Any comments?
Just as a general principle, I would be against it turning any retail unit into non-retail, but I think in this case it's outside the core shopping area, and it's going to be used for a good purpose, I think.
Yes.
Charity.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Charity.
All those in favour? The motion is carried.
Councillor Sampson, can I ask you just to... Thank you.
You can come back in now.
Reference number 22000516. Proposal, change of use from retail use class E to dog grooming parlour. Location 68 Strand Street, Sandwich, CT 13 9DZ. This is the next door property.
Thoroughly recommend this. Needed in the town.
Yes, all those designer pooches. Yeah. Any comments or a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Heaven. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Number 4.6, reference number 220593. Internal works include infill internal ground floor door opening, remove wall, cupboard and internal door, insert new wall linings. External works include infill ground floor rear side window and replace 2 external rear doors. Replace 3 rear windows, introducing double glazing. Insert boiler flue and high level ventilation grille to side elevation. Replace fixed sign to side elevation wall. Location 2 Moat Sol Sandwich, CT 13 9AU.
Recommend approval.
Any comments? Seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Heaven. All those in favour? It's carried. Right, proposal point 4.7. Reference number 22006565. Erection of detached outbuilding, existing shed to be removed. Location 11 St Andrews Leeds, Sandwich, CT 13 9RA.
I did have a comment on this one because the proposed outbuilding is extremely large. If anybody saw on the map, it takes up sort of like about a third of the garden or more, and also it's of a brick construction. It said it would have coarse brickwork, so I'd be in favour of approving it, but I think it ought to be brought to DDC's attention because of the size of it. So I'd recommend approval on the basis that it passes planning regulations at Dover.
Any other comments or?
It is huge, and I'm surprised no neighbours have commented.
Yeah, there wasn't any comment from me. But if it passes planning regulations, then it's acceptable.
Have we received no complaints?
No, none.
So, do I have a?
So I'm approving it based on Dover District Council saying it
So
passes.
does anyone, do I have a seconder for Councillor Carter's motion? Thank you, Councillor Heaven. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Now we come to the stacked quarter cabins. Councillor Carter, I believe you've already made public comment on this
Yes.
item.
Have, yeah, that's
So
right.
I'm afraid you cannot speak on this item.
Councillor Wiles.
Shall I sit here or do?
I'm Councillor Wiles, but he's not here as a councillor, so does that count?
Not if it was private. If it was a private one.
I would suggest that it could be challenged and it would be better. Councillor Wiles was prepared to leave the room.
I'm happy to
It can't
leave the
be
room.
challenged on this item.
Thank you.
I've had an hour this morning with Malcolm Waite, so.
So this is item 4.8, reference 22000439. Proposal siting of 2 stacked porter cabins, retrospective, location 88 New Street, Sandwich, CT13 9JP. That's a heaven.
I'd argue against giving permission. There have been a lot of objections to the porter cabins since they were erected. And so I would say it shouldn't be given planning permission, retrospective or otherwise. I am aware though that if they've got a use for the porter cabins, then at least we should ask them to propose another form of office building and so on. If that's their use as office building, admin building, then it's difficult to object to the business that wants that. But porter cabins stacked one on top of the other don't really look very attractive and so on. But the final point being, again, the backside of a filling station is never going to be attractive anyway. Yes, I would reject this application.
None of us, I understand, are much in favour of retrospective applications in any event. My view is that they're very unsightly and also close to an ancient monument.
Yeah.
Have you any?
From what can be seen, which unfortunately is quite a lot, from walking alongside the town ditch, they appear to be full to me of sacks of plaster, so I don't think that's really an office use. So they look to be using them as storage, possibly for other developments in the town, I don't know, but they are very close and adjacent to an ancient monument which we've had a lot of encroachment on, and I think other people would be delighted to encroach on it even further. So, for what it's worth, I have no vote, but that's my view from a historical point of view.
Thank you. Councillor Sampson?
Thank you. I would very much agree with what already has been said here, and I think that there is a sizable, very tangible element of anger in the town. You're right, none of us really like retrospective planning things. There's right ways to go about this, and yeah, this probably wasn't the best approach for them to take. So yeah, I concur with what's been said tonight.
Thank you. Councillor Heaven, I don't think that we can put that, your suggestion about discussing other potential
No, I'm
outcomes
just making a point.
into our planning response. I also believe it's very important that we get the correct terminology for this, which I believe that in our last meeting we had a form of words. Yes, please could you read those out? Thank you.
Refuse this planning application on the following basis: proximity to the scheduled ancient monument, not in keeping with the visual amenity of the area. Application was submitted retrospectively.
Cool.
Would someone be prepared to propose that motion? Thank you, Councillor Heaven.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favour? Motion carried. Thank you.
I'll go.
Thank you.
Guys, you can come back in.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Nice to be back.
Item number 4.9, reference 22000635, proposal, erection of a single-storey building for use as a classroom, existing porter cabins to be removed. Location, Bay Point Club, Ramsgate Road, Sandwich, CT13 9QL. Councillor Carter.
Looking at the plans, this is a replacement of old porter cabins for new ones, so it's an improvement in their facilities, so I'd thoroughly recommend this going ahead,
Thank you. Any other comments?
only that they put their plan in before they erect it.
May I have a seconder then, please? Councillor Heaven, thank you. All those in favour of the motion? The motion is carried. 4.10, reference 2200705. Installation of an electric battery storage facility, including the installation of a UKPN connection area and equipment, ground raising, landscaping and associated works. Location, part of former Richmond Power Station, Ramsgate Road, Sandwich, Kent.
Yeah, it's on the plans, it shows it's all low level and it had scaling to show how tall it is. I think it's all just over 3 metres high, so it won't be seen, and it's going to be screened from the road. So I thoroughly recommend this, and it's going to support green energy, so that's the most important thing, I think.
Thank you. Any other comments? Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Heaven. All those in favour? Motion passed. Moving on to agenda item number 5, Local Government Miscellaneous Provisions Act of 1982. DDC have received a street furniture consent application to place tables and chairs on the highway at locations detailed below. Furniture, 2 tables and 4 chairs at the Old Pharmacy, 39 King Street, Sandwich, CT13 9BL. Timings 0900 to 2200, Monday to Sunday.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think this should go ahead. The diagram was appalling. It's very difficult to be able to see it. But if you go and look at the actual premises, there is a bit of pavement outside each window adjacent to the door. And it says these are 2 benches with a table in the middle, and the benches are going to be screwed to the wall, so they're going to be well away from the road, and I think it'd be rather pleasant to put them. They can't be any more dangerous than the seating area in the waiting room. It's a similar scenario, so I would give full approval for these to go ahead, and they've asked for a small number, 2 tables, 4 chairs. So.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? I personally have concern over the timing for the last 10 o'clock, because it is a residential area, but I don't know what others think. Councillor Wiles.
Yeah, the plan is misleading. I think the benches are shown as being 40 centimetres deep with a table. I'm not sure how that works with a person sitting at them. It's going to be a lot more than 40 centimetres jutting out into that pavement, which is a kind of island where people coming down the chain will cross going into King Street. So it needs to be clear that there's got to be at least a metre egress across that piece of pavement, otherwise it won't be possible for people to walk across. I appreciate there are no drop curbs or anything there, but it's still a kind of pedestrian route across. But the plan I mentioned last week, I think when you get these applications, they should provide better plans, perhaps properly drawn by a proper draftsperson.
I think we can suggest that to DDC licensing, but I believe that's not anything we can influence beyond suggesting it to them.
It does say there's 1.7 metres from the front edge of the bench.
Yeah, but it's physically impossible.
Because the table is actually integral to the bench. Did you know that? It's not separate from the bench, it's built into it.
Right.
So they'd be sitting either side of the table.
I can think of some people who are wider than 40 centimetres.
Councillor Bevan.
My concern is when you're driving a car or bike out of King Street to join the main road, if you like, it is now very difficult to work out if there's anything coming along High Street. And it occurred to me that if you had people sitting on that island, as it were. It's not really an island. It would actually become more difficult. Although I can imagine that people sitting there having a good time would probably act as a warning that there's a bus coming along High Street. But I can't work out sizes, even though I've gone along and looked and tried to imagine chairs, tables, people sat at them, and to what extent they would block views of traffic coming along High Street. And I know you can see the reflection of vehicles in the windows of the houses on, it's that High Street of the chain,
Chain,
the
yeah.
chain. But yes, it's difficult to know whether a traffic problem would be caused at that point.
Might I suggest then that highways are asked for a view on that? Is that possible? Perhaps I can ask our DDC councillor if that's something that can be done.
Highways are a statutory consultee when it goes to the regulatory committee anyway, so there'll be a report from the Dover District Highways Officer.
Thank you.
So if we approved, subject to their agreement, that would meet the requirement.
And are there any comments on the timings? Personally, I don't know if I can say this as chair, I'd like to see the outside stop at 9 o'clock because it's a residential area.
I think personally, I would imagine they're gone for these kind of times. Well, if it was me putting this in, the reason I would go for longer is so you have flexibility. So, for example, a Sunday or a normal week is going to be very different from a Sunday before a bank holiday Monday. The times don't particularly bother me, and if the weather isn't particularly great, you're not going to have any customers out there anyway. But so, I can see what you mean, but I'm fine with as it is, obviously, with the consultee stuff that we're going in as well.
So, to be clear, we're making a recommendation for approval and ensuring that the tables don't encroach more than a metre from the edge of the curb, and that we will respect the consultee, the highways consultee report, and that's down to DDC.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, is that our proposal?
That's our proposal.
Thank you, councillor. Seconder, please. Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. Enforcement. To consider any enforcement notices and issues received from Dover District Council. Councillor Friend, do we have anything to report?
No updates that are suitable for the public domain.
Can I ask Councillor Friend, has there been any change to the lines, the new street property? Because there's been an awful lot of work to refurbish it, hasn't it? And when I came past tonight, I saw it actually looked quite presentable.
Yeah, I mean the enforcement case on 57 New Street is still ongoing. Personally, the work that has been taking place has been very promising, and it's had more work done on it in the last 6 months than I've seen it on it in the last 10 years. So it seems to be moving forward in the right direction, but it is still ongoing until we get a concrete resolution to the property long term. I don't think the planning enforcement case will change.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Any other questions for Councillor Friend?
Is there any update on the ice cream parlour?
The planning enforcement case is still live.
We're moving forward to agenda item number 7, decisions. To note that Dover District Council planning divisions have been emailed to the committee as and when received. You're all happy to note that?
Noted.
Thank you.
Chair, I'm sorry, could we have a proposal in a second, please?
I'll propose.
I'll propose.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Sampson. Agenda item 8, date and time of next meeting, Wednesday the 6th of July 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Thank you, everyone. That's it. Good evening.